Hi, I'm Ryan and you're watching my YouTube series on functional programming. In this episode, I'm going to talk about function composition, and you will hear this term very often when writing functional code. So the concept of function composition is very simple. You think about functions as if they belong to an assembly line, such that the output of one function is the input of the next function. So the way you would think about it is, let's say you have two functions f and g. So the output of one function is the input of the next function. And that's what we are trying to capture when we say function composition. So let's see some examples. We have two functions over here, greet and exclaim, and greet prepends the text hello to its argument. Exclaim appends the text an exclamation mark to its argument. And let's say we have a name here. So if I were to greet and exclaim this name, here's what I would generally do. I would do this, and then I would say greet name. And if I were to run this, I would get a greeting. And if I would say exclaim, now I would get an exclamation mark, which is pretty simple and straightforward. But if you had maybe 5 or 6 functions, this would get quite complicated. So what we're going to do is we are going to define a compose function which captures this order of execution. So let's say we have functions f and g, f and and we're going to define a function called compose, which takes these two arguments in the same order, so f and g, and composes them to create a new function which can be invoked. So f of g of x is equal to compose fg of x. I'm going to use a library called Ramda to import a compose function, because we will not go into the details of implementing this function right now. So let's actually take this code and rewrite it using a compose function. So I have these two arguments over here, these two functions over here, exclaim and greet, and then I'm just going to compose them and pass the name. And then I'm going to run this code and I have the same output. So notice how compose did exactly what our previous code did. It executed greet first and then exclaim. And that is also reflected in the way you pass the arguments to compose. So it's right to left. The rightmost function executes before the left function. And this is very useful when you have, let's say, multiple functions. So let's say we have another function called as print. So let me comment this out, and then I say compose. So instead of writing, console log, I'm just going to compose. You have print. Sorry, I have greet. Then I have exclaim, and then I have print, and then I pass in my name. And now if I run this code, let's see what happens. I get the same output. So we were able to easily capture the order of execution of multiple functions using compose. Now notice something strange though. I had to write my code in a very different way. I had to write my code from right to left. And although this is okay, it's easy to understand mathematically, it is usually not very convenient because we usually read left to right. And if I were to write this on a multi-line function, it gets even more complicated because I would first have to write greet and then exclaim and then print and then pass the argument name to it. So in the next video, we're going to talk about a different utility called pipe, which helps us work around this. That's it for this video, and If you liked it, if you found it useful, please subscribe, like, or comment, and stay tuned for the next video in the series. Thanks for watching.